Good morning, It's how's it going? Feeling rosy? And it's again too early for me, not enough caffeine. In fact, no caffeine at all yet. So I think I'm feeling a little tired. We're off down a hill, obviously, and it's not great weather here. Hopefully the forecast suggests that it will improve where we are heading, and we are off to Penrith Horse Trials, which is the new one, which is taken over from what used to be Frenchfield, and it I had a look on the cross country app yesterday. It looks like a really nice course, so I feel like I need to touch some wood. 1 second. Just touch some wood. So I've decided today I am manifesting, which is which I believe is the new way of it's new or not actually, but anyway, of thinking positive and visualizing the fact that we are going to do this. Going to continue the walk and see you there. It is absolutely chucking it down. Probably hear the rain on the car roof. It is chucking it down, so it got tad wet. But it isn't cold and it isn't windy, it's just very wet. My main worry is because we haven't got shoes on and it is so slippy. Well, it's wet, to be fair. It's wet. I have seen a couple of horses, particularly in the show jumping, on the turns, slip, and they had shoes and looked like studs on. So my main concern is making sure that I don't worry too much about that. So worry enough about it, keep them balanced, make sure our turns are really controlled. If I need to, come back to trot. But what I need to not do is stop riding and slow him down so much because I'm worried that I don't let him jump the fence. And that is going to be, I think, probably one of my biggest challenges today. So we will see how that goes. Otherwise, the cross-country course looks really nice. It's very up and down, which will be good for us and him. Interestingly, there is a, because it's rained so much, there's a puddle at one of the crossings through into another field that is basically big enough now that horses are jumping it and spooking at it. And there are also 2 little footbridge things over some ditches, which just add another few things to think about, and possibly for me to be really conscious that the monster may go a bit spooky. But yeah, otherwise, touching wood, there is nothing in here, so I'll have to be the head. I think it should ride nicely. I just need to keep my nerve about riding positively given it's wet. So this is us in the warm-up just after he'd bolted back to where the trailer was, because we were the last horse of the day, last horse in the dressage, and as the other horses were leaving, he did not want to stay. And in terms of the system that I'm trying to work out as to how we need to be at our best, he's still having the increased feed to make sure he's got enough energy. And at this point, I haven't really worked out that I need lots more fuel to get through all three disciplines, but I'll come back to that in a minute. So we went into dressage wired, trying to get him to relax and calm down to ride him properly. It was a bit of a challenge. It had stopped raining though, and as you can see, some blue sky. So at least we weren't having to do this in the driving sideways horizontal rain. We went into the arena still wired had like a giraffe for a lot of it, and he was prancing. I suspect the wind in the trees didn't help either. Yet again, I forgot to actually pick up my dressage sheet, so don't really know what sort of scores we would have got. But as you'll see, that's not our biggest issue today. I got a little bit confused here because instead of the car horn sounding, someone held up a green card. So I just had to check that meant I should go, which it did. And as we come down and into the start of the test, he wasn't happy at all. There were no other horses here now. The dressage area was well away from the jumping, so there weren't even any horses in warm-up or doing the jumping phases. And he just wanted to get out of there and get back to where the action was. Whether I should have tried to just keep him walking around a bit more and not worried about the time and I don't know. Anyway, the carnage ensued, which I shall let you enjoy. Even Toby today wasn't happy with it all. So we had Rosie as usual encouraging us, but also Toby, and then a couple of other people's dogs joined in. It was like they were all telling us to just stop. Just in case there's any confusion as to what we should be doing here, we're supposed to be doing a nice rhythmic trot, not jogging and dancing on the spot and coming out of the arena, which obviously under strict application of the British eventing rules, we could have been eliminated for. Come back to that in a second. Ironically, when we actually went into canter, it wasn't that bad. He's actually started to settle now and is looking okay, considering everything. Spoke too soon. That wasn't supposed to be a canter. I think we were supposed to canter, but not quite as early as that. But again, it didn't explode into the change of pace, and the canter works all right. It's not what you'd call a relaxed walk, but again, we didn't explode. He wasn't actually jogging at this point, so considering how we started, not too bad. and an okay-ish halt, to be honest. So we kind of rescued it, but here's where the judge asked to speak to me. And even though my knowledge of the BE rules is very poor, I was thinking, I'm pretty sure there's something about stepping out of the arena. The judge was lovely. So technically, we could have been eliminated. But because she could see that the monster was just upset rather than uncontrolled, and that I was able to bring him back and keep riding him forward, she was very kind in letting us continue. But obviously, our scores would reflect all of that. So we were never in any danger of winning anything, obviously, but at least it meant we didn't have to go home after the dressage. Thank you so much. Super appreciated. So we come into the show jumping, and he was really good in the warm up, but the horses were around because the cross country warm up was just next door. There'd been a lot of problems in the show jumping course in terms of slipping. It was quite a twisty course, and there was quite a lot going on. But I just focused on getting a really good and positive start, and trying to make sure that I supported him all the way round. And he was a little superstar. I did also make sure not to go through the start gate twice this time. We had a nice bouncy canter. I did bring him back to trot just here, just to make sure we were again kind of properly balanced, given how tight it all was. But he genuinely did not feel at any point like he was worried about the ground.
Rosie, shut up.
And this line here was the one that people were struggling most with. It was a triple bar and then to quite a tight turn to the right to get to the next fence. But he nailed it. He wasn't at all worried about it. We didn't slip on the turn. I just kept him really balanced. But we got to this one, and what I didn't do is prep in advance for our nemesis. So yet again, bloody double. Anyway, I was too busy focusing on the previous two fences and not thinking about the next ones ahead. So we come round again, and he jumped them fine, although we didn't have very good shots, so we did bring them down. But I was really pleased with that all in all. So on to cross country, and he was not happy in the warm up. Again, last horse, wasn't concentrating on what I was asking him to do. He was napping, he was being silly, start box wasn't great, the start wasn't brilliant, could not get us going. So even though this first fence was fairly straightforward, he just wasn't concentrating on it. And I, at this point, wasn't riding either, because I think I was so focused on him napping that I wasn't riding him forward and positively, but I'm also letting myself be pulled forward. So again, sort of the hindsight in terms of recognising that I have not got enough fuel in me to ride him well. I think all of the shenanigans on the dressage and then again in the cross country just had kind of taken all my energy out of me, which you can see here because I had nothing. I was not riding him at all there. Definitely sat like a passenger, and he was really confused by this fence. It was a little pop over to a drop, but it had a ground rail, some plants, then the kind of like blue bit of the way. It was just very confusing. And instead of keeping him going forward, even if we were going to do it from trot, I just kind of went, bleh. And we refused it twice. So at that point, I kicked myself up the backside, trotted up to it with him, and he popped it lovely. He then took me into quite a meaty edge on a bit of a downhill, flew over that no problem, and then this is just after a very long downhill stretch, which he took in his stride. And then, although he was a little bit hesitant over some of these, when I was riding him and asking him, he went. He didn't jump the water in that puddle thing there, and he didn't spook at it. So, really pleased with that. Again, slight hesitation, but I was riding him, and that's the difference between us stopping and us not. Just brought him back to trot for that little footbridge thing, and then he raced up this hill, and then we got to this little complex. There was quite a few jumps, and I think he was not sure, and I basically don't think I had come back myself from that gallop up the hill to ride him to it and ask him to jump it properly. So that was it for today. So we do our, well, I suppose it could be our walk of shame, given that we only got to fence 6. But there was definitely a lot to like from today. We had very, very wet conditions. We did so well in the show jumping, apart from me in the double again. And I think we, again, grew in confidence in terms of being able to ride without shoes in conditions like that. So we got back. He had his very sloppy mash, which he absolutely loved, and then homeward bound. All in all, I am really pleased, even though it was another big fatty at the end of the day. So I'd give it a 3 on the ride measurement scale. And for him, I really need to help work on his anxiety and nappiness. And for me, I need to make sure I have got enough fuel to be able to ride him properly all the way around in all 3 phases. Right, that is it for now. I am already tired and we've still got a good couple of hours to get home. Then we've got to walk up the hill. Then we've got to do all the getting the horses sorted and etc. So I suspect that I will have no ability to string a sentence together later on. So I will say bye for now, and we will see you on the next one.